I am a lot of things. I feel like I wear a lot of hats. The best thing you can do is pick the most fabulous looking hat to put on. Have you ever been swallowed up? Anytime you come into my house, I want you to be swallowed up. Like, timing is so divine. The ops. This is what the parents mean when they say, sometimes things are witches and wizards. Like, I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm trying to stun on you.
You're more hyper-focused and you're hyper-aware and your discernment is higher for when someone is now approaching you with a romantic interest. You're like, is this going to add or subtract?
And when you have achieved peace in your life, you guard it so preciously.
You say the things that people think, but you say it so unapologetically. How did you get to this point?
If you don't put the work in to create the content, like all you
knows.
have is a closet full of clothes.
Welcome to the Empowered Era podcast, brought to you by the Elizabethan Era. I'm your host, Elizabeth Osandu, also known as Liz, and today we have none other than Funmi Monet.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Doing amazing. I'm so excited to be here.
You just smell good.
Girl,
You know that, right?
it's a lifestyle.
You know, it's a lifestyle.
Like, how can I be known for being the fragrance girl and then someone catches me on an off day?
That would be a bad day.
Very devastating.
And we don't have bad days over here.
No, ever.
So Funmi, as you guys know, and if you don't know, she is known for her fragrances. She's known for smelling good. She's known for looking good. But she's also someone who has launched her own fragrance line. She has been featured in Elle. She has been featured in Teen Vogue. She has been featured in Allure magazine, as well as Who What Wear. She is a part of the Sephora Squad. And last but not least, she is a part of the Sephora Squad Mentor for 2023. So Funmi, who are you in your words?
You know what? I am a lot of things. I always tell myself, like, I don't like to put myself in one box because those things change daily. Like, some days I am a fragrance girl. Some days I'm your favorite therapist. Some days I'm a lover girl. Like, some days I'm the best daughter, the best friend, the best sister.
Yeah.
So I feel like I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And I feel like, the best thing you can do is pick the most fabulous looking hat to put on. So
I like that. I like the way you put that because I think oftentimes people do try to put individuals in a box and it's left for you to control your narrative and you either let them put you in that box or you break out of that box.
Absolutely.
So I like the fact that you are just rotating your hats and you are expressive with the hats that you're wearing.
Yeah, it's just like this idea that, life is so dynamic. And so I never want to just allow myself to be one thing or to limit myself to what I can experience. So every day is just a fresh start.
I love a fresh start. So speaking of the start, tell everybody, let's just dive straight into it. How did you get to where you are today? In other words, how did you go from being like a small town girl to now this big city boss babe, soft babe life?
Well, okay, so a very random thing that no one ever guesses is that I was actually born in Nigeria. So
How long did you live there?
I moved here when I was 3. So I moved to Oklahoma, which is also very random, but there's a lot of Nigerians in Oklahoma, surprisingly.
Okay.
So I moved to Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma, and my family's in Oklahoma. I went to school in Oklahoma. And, while I was there, I worked in fragrance and I worked in beauty as well. I actually, from a really early age, my mom sold Avon. So I would always get into her makeup box.
No, my mom was a Mary Kay girl.
Oh, it's
So
like
that's why
every
it's
every
when
hustle.
you see that pink Cadillac, you
telling
just know.
It's like moms can't just be like a mom and a nurse. Like
That.
they also have to have a side
And it's
hustle.
the mom and the nurse combo.
So I always saw that okay, mom always had a side hustle.
Yep.
So I did have a side hustle. So I just would always sneak into her, bathroom and I would, take her makeup and I'd wear makeup to school. My parents would just be like, they didn't care. Like, I'd wear blue eyeshadow to school and they'd be like,
How old
as long
were
as you have good grades. I was in 8th grade wearing
I
blue
love this.
eyeshadow and green nail polish. And my parents never said anything. They just said,
Yeah.
as long as you have good grades, it's fine. So I really appreciated that my parents let me also be dynamic.
Yeah.
As in, they never limited how I expressed myself. I was always really artistic, in high school, in college as well. I loved my art classes, photography, ceramics, graphic design, anything that allowed me to express myself in a creative way was always so fun.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of makeup artistry in college. I worked with Bobby Brown as a freelance artist for the
This
Well,
is in
I
college.
still have my Bobby Brown discount. I love that for
in
me.
college.
In college.
That's a smart girl.
My mentor in high school was a lady that worked at our school in records. She
Yeah.
did all the transcripts, and she was an older black lady.
We love
She's
that.
the most fabulous person I ever met in my life.
To this day.
Oh, I mean,
Come
and we're
on.
still friends. I still talk to her. She
I
still
love
checks in
that.
on me. She follows me on socials.
Yeah.
But I've known her since I was 16, and she just was always so stylish. She was just everyday dress, everyday makeup, everyday hair, perfume.
That.
And I said,
Day.
I want to look like this woman. I want to be
Yeah.
like her, you know? So she worked in the evenings at Bobby Brown. And when I started showing interest in wearing makeup in high school, she'd always like get me samples of stuff. And when I got to college, she's like, you should come work for us. She's like, I'll put in a word. You're always at the counter. The manager met me. She was like, why not? So I worked with Bobby Brown. And then I worked in fragrance as well when I was in grad school.
Okay,
So-
we love the correlation of the beginning days, because I think oftentimes people will see you in like what they think is your final product, and
Yeah.
you know, like you're not at your finished product either. But what people see at face value, they're like, okay, I wonder how they got there, or like
Yeah.
maybe it's overnight, like the whole microwave
Yeah.
stories. So it's good to know that was always like a natural passion for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My friends from high school still joke about how I would be reapplying my eyeliner during math class. Like, it was just, I would literally be painting my nails like during English. Like my teachers would get so mad at me, but they're like, oh, she already turned in the work. But like, I just was always a beauty girl, you
Yeah.
know, like, and like I said, I'm very fortunate I had the kind of parents I had.
Yes.
Because I had friends growing up that they couldn't wear makeup, like no
Yeah.
nail polish, like their parents were very strict. But my parents were just like, you know, they were a little bit more strict about like the clothing I wore.
Yeah.
But like beauty, makeup, for like they didn't care. They said keep bringing home those good grades, girl.
So instead of you to be doing Y equals MX plus V,
I already turned in the work. Like I already turned in the homework. Please. I'm
said,
I'm drawing my
"Please."
nails.
I have some rapid fire questions for you. What would you say is your go-to scent of the day?
Exalté. My
We
fragrance.
know that's right.
Always.
And what notes are in Exalté?
So for me, when I created this fragrance, I really wanted something that's like a signature scent. And I've always thought of like a floral fragrance as something that is just classic, that is timeless. So its center is Turkish rose, but it has like a lot of vanilla and amber. So it's really creamy and warm and kind of sweet. There's a little bit of lemon and pink pepper, so it's like uplifting. And the name means like to be uplifted, to be celebrated, to be exalted. So exalté is a fragrance that when you put it on, it just instantly makes you feel better.
Hold on. Can we do sniff sniff?
Okay, this is
Because-
exalté.
We love the
I love a first impression. Feel free to give
Hold
yourself
on.
a little spritz or two.
y'all need to smell this. It's clean. It's everything you said, even the peppercorn. Like it's very floral. It's light. But I can tell it lasts long.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's strong enough. Yeah.
I definitely wanted a fragrance that like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not so loud that if I'm walking into the room, the person across the room can smell me.
Like no.
No, it's like it's not punching me in the
Yeah.
face. It's a fragrance that like, if you have the privilege to be close enough to me, you will be able to smell it on me. But like, not
that's
everyone has the
right.
privilege enough to be in your bubble.
Let them
So I feel
know.
like, you know, a fragrance that can speak to people across the room is allowing everybody to be able to enjoy you. But someone who's, you know, you're close to me and now you can smell me.
I love that.
Thank you. I'm glad
I
that you
love
love
that.
it.
We're gonna
So exalté.
come back around to a follow up on what you just said, but let's continue.
Perfect.
So, what is your go-to date night scent?
Anything with cherry. And it depends after the third date. Because the first 2 dates I'm playing it safe. I don't know if I like you yet.
Yeah,
You know, this
I
is
don't
once
need
again,
you all in the pheromones.
I'm not giving you the best. I'm not giving you the best in my arsenal for the first 2 dates. You know, sometimes people don't make it past the 48-hour period.
Come on.
So, you know, I really tend to go with something that's going to be sometimes a little sweet, you know, like depending on the time of the year. If it's the summertime, I like something fruity and sweet. Wintertime, I might go for a floral.
Yeah.
But by the third date, I'm like, I'm kind of feeling you. So maybe I'll pull out like something with a little cherry in it. It's always really sexy to me. And I feel like, you know, I might let you sniff my neck or something.
So, what is the sexy cherry sniff your neck scent? Go.
The one I just picked up from Italy. This is called Chino, and it's by a brand called Sospiro. It's an Italian brand, but it has a cherry note as well as a little peach and strawberry. But it dries down to like an almondy vanilla. It's a little powdery, and it's just like really comforting on your skin. Like it's sexy, you know. Like it's open. It's open and really playful.
Yeah.
So it's giving like, okay, you know, like a little banter, but the dry down is giving
And what is your go-to scent for tropical occasions?
Tropical occasions. Ooh, I don't actually have it with me today. However, I love anything that has what I call like an exotic fruit note. So I'm talking like those mangoes, guava, passion fruit. Like
Okay.
if I see that scent profile, you're coming with me. You're coming
She
with
said
me.
you're coming with me.
You're coming
Like
with
you're
me.
coming home.
Yes, we're doing this.
We love that. Okay, and one more question. What candle are you currently burning this year?
You know what? I'm burning three candles in my home right now. So
Okay.
I have a candle that's a new candle from a brand called Brown Sugar Babe, and it's really warm and sweet. I'm burning a candle from a brand called Nest. It's called Jasmine,
Yeah.
and it just makes my home smell like a very expensive boutique or spa. And then I'm also burning my Forever Mood candles. I can never get enough of Jackie Ina's candle line, Forever Mood. So
Yes.
anytime I burn any of them, it's just always a vibe. Have you ever been swallowed up? Anytime you come into my house, I want you to be swallowed up by how amazing. Like I want you to be just enveloped and embraced by how good my place smells.
Do you change out your scents throughout the year?
I do. So
Okay,
like
like
sometimes,
in your home.
like in the summertime, I don't like to burn fragrances that are super sweet.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a cold weather, cozy
Yeah.
type of fragrance. So I'm not burning
Giving
like
Thanksgiving, fall.
the cookie butter fragrance in
Yeah.
the middle of July. And then July, I'm burning something that's going to be a little clean, like cedar, the jasmine fragrances, something clean and fresh, peppercorn, but cozy time when I'm nesting at home. I like to put on that hot cocoa and marshmallows.
So you just mentioned nesting at home, but this one you be going on tour. So tell us a little bit more about the 6-week hiatus.
Okay, so I'm grounded for now. I'm grounded, literally, both feet on the ground for the next mid-May, early May.
Okay.
So that's about 6 weeks from now, and I'm using this time to really work on refining my habits because I feel like when you travel so much and you're not home,
Yeah.
often like you don't get a chance to really rest in ritual and rest in having things that you do consistently every single week.
Yeah.
Like my trainer texted me. He was like, I need you to be a little bit more consistent the next
I haven't seen
6
you.
weeks. He's like, I haven't seen you the last 2 weeks. What's going on? And he's like, are you going to be home? These time differences are killing you. Like I had a 14-hour time difference in Thailand. So it was literally impossible for me to find a time to work out with him. But even just like something as mundane as going to the grocery store, like I used to have like Sunday night, or Sunday after church,
Yeah.
go to the grocery store, go to the farmer's market, pick out my food for the week. Sunday night, make dinner. Like Monday morning, wake up, prep my food for the week.
Yeah.
Like set my appointments. Like I just feel like I've fallen out of that just with the travel. So I'm looking forward to even picking up a new hobby. Who knows? Maybe I'll pick up ceramics. Actually, I was thinking about tennis. Weather's warmed up.
I think you should pick up tennis. I think you would
Tennis would be
like
fun.
it.
But something
like, be
that's
out
like
on the courts.
yeah, something that's like not for social media though. Like,
Yeah,
something
it's
like,
something literally for you.
yeah,
You
like
can go through your
I don't have to be
training
good at it. I
session.
can be absolutely terrible at tennis, but have such a good time, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Like I want something that like I want to pick up things during this time that I'm
Yeah.
not good at, or maybe I might end up being good at
Yeah.
it, but I just want to do something different.
One of my friends, she picked up pottery.
Oh,
So she now like makes pots.
that sounds fun.
She's
I'm nervous about my
barely
nails,
a
though.
plant girl, but she just makes pots.
How does that work with long nails?
That is a good question because I didn't pick up pots.
I was thinking
and
maybe
pottery.
gloves. Like she has to wear gloves.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. I mean, maybe she doesn't have long nails though. Not everyone has long nails.
We never know.
I took ceramics in high school. I loved it. My parents still have some of my projects that I gifted them for Christmas because
Yeah.
I was a broke high school. Like I was like literally like 14.
Yeah.
So I would make these ceramics. Like I made a coffee mug for my dad one year. He still has it. But it's always really surprising to me like how parents really hold on to things that are very sentimental. But in addition, like having hobbies like this and creating things, like it may not be the best looking thing. Like I'm not saying it belonged at Crate and Barrel
Yeah.
or CB2. They were not knocking on my door anytime soon, but it's like, oh, like that was really special because you did that.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice.
What would you say is the most sentimental gift you've received to date?
Life.
Whew,
Okay, so
hold on. Let's take
I don't
it
know
there.
if my parents will
Let's
ever
take it
watch
there.
this podcast, but I always think about how it is a miracle to be conceived, right?
Yeah.
And when my parents got married, my dad was living in the US and my mom was living in Nigeria at the time. So they get married.
Yeah.
My parents got married on December 17th. I think my dad was probably only able to take like a week off work before he had to come back to the US. Okay, so they get married December 17th. I was born September 19th. So I was born exactly like 9 months after my parents got married. And I think it's so amazing because life is miraculous. Like if my parents had not gotten married when they did, I probably wouldn't exist because my dad was already running back to the US a week later, he had to come back to work. And so I think about how, everything is so like timing is so divine. And whenever I think about that, anytime, I think about like, why am I here? Like, what is the, what's my purpose? I realize, wow, my conception was so specific, so I'm clearly here to do something.
You literally walked into the next question.
I did.
I'm glad that you emphasized on life being so precious. Do you feel like you have found your purpose?
Every day I think that your purpose does not have to look like just one thing. So, for me, I've always felt very drawn to therapy and psychology. Since high school, I took psychology classes.
Yup.
Junior year, senior year in high school, I knew when I went to college, I was going to do psychology. I did psychology in high school or in college. Then I did my master's in clinical mental health counseling because I've always struggled with my own mental health, with depression, with anxiety, and I've always really been drawn to this idea of wanting to understand how my mind works, but also wanting to help other people work through their own trauma and work through things that they've done to be able to see themselves as this person that's worthy and also like feeling empowered.
Yeah.
And so with social media, it's interesting how a very specific thing that I went into intentionally with my career is somehow also reflecting in how I show up online, with this idea of helping women see someone online that's I'm just a regular Black girl. I'm from Oklahoma City, y'all. I'm not from anywhere exotic. I'm from a village in Nigeria.
Which village?
Ibadan.
Hey,
Well,
come on.
Ibadan is not a village. The Nigerians watching this video, Ibadan is not the village. I grew up in a very little village outside Ibadan. But y'all, I'm not saying because y'all be asking the bank questions sometimes. Like what I call the security questions. Like
no.
people be like, where are you from? I'm like,
No.
why? So you can know my security question?
Which street did you live on? What was your first
Yeah, what was your dog's name when you were growing up?
Why are you asking me this?
That's oddly specific.
No, have you noticed on social media in the story post, actually, those questionnaires that are going around that everyone now wants to jump on?
Oh, yeah.
Those are security
What was
questions.
your first grade teacher's name? The ops. This is what the parents mean when they say sometimes things are witches and wizards. Like, I'm not filling that out. The feds are watching. No, thank you. I'm not getting my bank account hacked. But I think, with how I show up online, I always tell people this. I never show up online in a way that I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm trying to stun on you, And sometimes like ego can get in the way of how you show up online and wanting to like prove something to people. But I've always thought like I want to show up online and make people see that I am a woman in her 30s and I'm living my life. I'm not doing anything strange. I'm not doing frequent trips to Dubai for anything strange. I pay my taxes.
She said anything strange.
I pay all my taxes. Uncle Sam, I'm on a payment plan, but I pay my taxes. And, I earn my own money. I live life in a way it makes sense to what I earn, but I also like encourage people to work hard and seek out your dreams in a way that is special to you. Like you don't have to seek out anybody else's dreams. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It just needs to make sense to you. And so often I get messages from women that are like, wow, it's so inspiring to see that you're not crying every night about not being married. I'm Nigerian too. My family pressures me so much. Like, why aren't you married? Why aren't you doing
questions
this?
come.
Like, what's wrong with you? And my parents used to struggle with that. Like their their friends would be like, oh, Funmi is still single. And my parents were like, at first they would be like, are you okay? But as you get older, it's like when you step back and look at someone and you see who they are, you can see like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm not out here walking around like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
No.
I'm not Quasimodo.
Far from it.
Like
this
I'm not
right here. Far from it.
Quasimodo. I think I am a very healed person. I'm not walking into relationships with a bunch of trauma. If anything, I might need to be a little bit more relaxed. I'm a little bit aloof.
So question for you on
I'm not
that.
texting you 10 times. I'm texting you one time.
Do you feel that because you have done the groundwork to be healed and you are currently even on your journey of like revamping who you are and how you show up, it's like a full rebrand, that it almost makes you more the best way to put it is like, you're more hyper focused and you're hyper aware and your discernment is higher for when someone is now approaching you with a romantic interest. You're like, is this going to add or subtract?
Honestly, more than anything else, the adding and subtracting, I always tell people that when you have achieved peace in your life, you guard it so preciously.
Yep.
Like you know when you take an egg, right? You don't start now be doing taekwondo with this egg in your hand, you know? You don't start doing, Formula One drag racing with this egg in your hair or putting it on your head, okay? Like you guard it very preciously, like, and think about like things that really matter to you. Like men, you guys know that when you have your shiny new car, you're not parking in that tight spot between the two banged up cars. You're parking a little further away because these people didn't respect their car. So I'm not parking between them so they can disrespect my own vehicle.
Say that again. Come on, analogies.
I always think about that. Like, you know how to guard the thing. I mean, look at men with sneakers. Like, just sneakers in general. Don't step on my Air Force Ones. Don't let that crease. Like, that's something that you guard very and so I think about peace the same way.
Yeah.
I guard the peace in my life very preciously. And I think about what it would look like for someone to come in and disrupt that peace. Something I worked so hard for.
I was just about to say that. Like, what it took for you to get there, why would you go backwards?
Like, why would I let you now disrupt my peace, my equilibrium? With whatever shenanigans or trauma that you have not worked through. Like, whatever mommy issues or daddy abandoned me or I don't feel like I'm a man enough. I don't feel like I'm making enough money. I don't feel confident enough with myself. Let me go in and throw beans and rice on Funmi. Don't do that. Because you get one day, you're never going to get to the cherry stage of the dating cycle with Funmi. So I say all this to say, like, you do become more discerning.
Yeah.
Because you understand what you're protecting. It's not even like, it's funny. I'm going to say this, but it's funny because every time I see men shouting about women are gold diggers, I'm like, are we digging for gold or are we digging for rocks? Because what you have is not giving much. You're protecting a Carl's Jr. coupon,
Please.
So there's no net worth. I mean, you got to use Afterpay to put gas in your car. So
please.
I'm just saying there's nothing to protect.
For me, the thing is, one thing about you, and I've been saying this, as our parents would say, you say the things that people think, but you say it so unapologetically. How did you get to this point?
I believe in the art of subtlety. My dad always told me growing up that there's two kinds of people that will scream in your face or people that have the ability to tell you to go to hell and you look forward to the trip. And so, when will I get there? We'll take my ticket.
You seem like the second.
So, and I really think that, and it could be like my profession.
Yeah.
And I think I observe a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I'm just also a very unserious person. So I just say things that are coming to my head. Come into my head.
Yeah.
But I also believe that in life you can cry or you can laugh. I'd rather laugh. I'd rather laugh. And I think that when you go into being a therapist, you observe so many things more than people often do because of the fact that we are literally taught to pick up nuance. So that's why sometimes I'll say things and people are like, oh, I didn't think of that. I'm like, well, now you have. Planted that little seed. But, I think sometimes it's just okay. Like, it's okay to not take yourself super seriously.
Yeah.
As a content creator, it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm verified. I'm this big, I'm a big person.
I'm a big babe.
Like, premium or nothing. Like, it's just very much this, I'm up here. I'm not a civilian.
Yeah.
I'm an influencer.
Yeah.
And, I think you just have to be able to not take yourself too seriously. Understand, okay, this is what I do, but I'm still a regular person.
I love that. Because there's this Vine video where this guy, he
oh, now I need to see it. Pull it up.
And let me see if I can clip it. But he was pretty much saying like bang da da da. He said, I'm not regular. And he is I can't stop laughing because the video is so funny. It's essentially like someone that you wouldn't expect to have that much confidence in who they are.
Yeah.
He just had so much confidence in who he was.
Yeah.
And his video goes viral because of the nuance of like you're watching someone that doesn't look like an influencer, but he has influenced people to even, now we're in 2024 and I'm quoting his video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's that paradigm of like, you have the influence, but you know who you are at your core,
Yeah.
you know?
This is a
I
small
think
town
the
babe.
difference in just kind of shifting into the conversation of like influence, there are influencers who they are creating the space of influence, creating the opportunity per se, and then there's those that they just naturally have influence.
Yeah.
Like if you see the person on the street, someone's like, "Man, like when are you gonna have your own podcast because you're so funny?" Or
Yeah.
like, "When are you going to now start posting because I just love where you get your outfits?"
Yeah.
Or like, "You've influenced me to buy certain fragrances, so when are you gonna drop your own line?" Like,
Yeah.
there's those individuals that people are almost seeing the gift in you and they're presenting it to you. And then there's those that they're creating the opportunity for themselves.
Yeah.
I think when you gravitate naturally to the aura of people see it in you, you can kind of just remain in who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, understanding that no matter what your natural gifts are, you still have to understand how much work you put into it.
Yes.
So, like, it doesn't matter, like, how well you could be the best dressed person in the world, but if you don't put the work in to create the content, like, all you have is a closet full of clothes. And that's fine for some people. Some people just really enjoy getting dressed for themselves. But as far as, like, the business of influencing, like, people message me all the time and they're like, well, Funmi, what do I need to do to be an influencer? Like, I want to be a content creator, but I don't know what to do. Start posting. Literally, just start posting. The first post is the easiest. It's the hardest. The first post is the hardest, but it's the most necessary one because it's the first step. And after that, you just evolve. I was making a joke with you earlier about how when I first started, I was so nervous about speaking on camera, so I had this weird voice. I would use to talk to the camera.
No, we
and
all
I
had
was like,
it.
oh my God, who is that? Like, why
When
did I
watch
sound like
old
that?
videos, hi, welcome back to my youth. It's just like, what are we doing?
I was cosplaying a very feminine woman or something, like, or what I thought, like,
What
a
we
very
thought was a feminine
soft
woman.
feminine woman. And,
Yeah.
just not understanding, just I can really just be who I am.
Yeah.
I can really just talk exactly how I talk.
And
It's
like your
okay.
tribe will find you. The right people are gonna find your content.
Definitely.
And even beyond right people finding your content, you're loved in real life.
I am.
You know?
I really do have people. Like, I
Yeah.
really have friends that I have been friends with since I was 5 years old. I really have my girlfriends that I've been friends with since middle school.
Yeah.
That we still get together once a year and do a girls trip and go to the fair.
I love
I
that.
really have, like, my friends from Oklahoma that when I go back home, we get together and have dinner, we catch up. I go hang out with my friends' kids. Like, it's just so nice to know that outside of being a content creator and an influencer, I have people that have known me since I was drawing my eyeliner on in math class,
And they can vouch for like the character that you possess when you show up today in 2024 and the person that you are online and the person that you are when cameras are off.
Absolutely.
And that's a gift that not many have.
Yeah.
So like when you recognize it, it's like, well, it becomes so innate, but not many have it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely. I love it. So it's been wonderful. Like, but more than anything else, it's funny whenever my friends watch my videos and they're
Yeah.
like, "This is really how you talk." Or when people meet me offline,
That.
like I had a dinner with a group of girls from the perfume community,
Okay,
and they were like,
we love
"No,
that.
this is how you really talk." Like at dinner, they were like, "Oh, so you're actually like this?
No,
you
that-
are really actually unhinged."
I think that's like
Absolutely.
the best compliment.
Yeah.
When it's like, nah, you're exactly the same or better
Yeah.
than we thought online versus like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
You know that high pitched
Yeah.
voice inflection that
Yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Oh. I get it. I've been there. And I've been there because I've
Yeah.
experienced it myself. So yeah, I didn't want anyone to have that experience. I didn't want to catfish anybody.
We love that. So let's dive a little bit more. You talking about catfishing. Let's dive a little bit more into the revamp of the Auntie Era. Like, I think we're all at a point where somebody has a niece or nephew somewhere.
Yeah.
So we're all aunties.
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But the stigma of an auntie and the stigma of what, especially an African auntie, what comes with that
a lot.
stigma? How can we now translate that into like the soft babe?
So, I agree with that. When I talked about the Auntie Era, one thing I explained to people is that it's not the title of Auntie. Like, my cousins have been calling me Auntie since I was 15. Anyone that's less than 5 years older than you, it's Auntie, sister,
It's almost
whatever.
out of respect.
It's a respect thing.
Yeah.
So, it's not the title that bothers me, but it's like the characteristics of embodying that person, the negative stereotype of what an auntie looks like,
Yeah.
So unflattering haircuts, clothing that's like outdated, too tight, like not stylish, and and also unpacking the internal baggage that makes you feel heavy, like makes you feel like you're judgmental or you're bitter. Like I didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
So I'm letting go of all of it, and so, besides cleaning out my closet, I had to clean out myself inside. I had to release the heaviness I felt like, or the burdens I was carrying that made me feel so weighed down, so I can embody this softness that I wanted to have, this lighthearted characteristic,
Yeah.
and then even just like outwardly, how do you glow up? How do you change your makeup in a way that looks a little bit more modern and fresh? You can't, my face has changed a lot since I was 19. So I can't wear the same makeup I was wearing at 19 now at 33. Like it just looks crazy. So like how would I update my makeup style? Like how do I update my makeup products? How do I update my skincare routine? How do I change my hair? Like how do I wear my hair in a way that makes me look like the person I feel like I am inside? How does that reflect? How does my feelings about myself inside reflect how people see me? Sometimes people will always see you in a certain way no matter what you do, but you can't change their minds.
That part.
But I think too that subtle changes can really go a long way in helping you glow up. And those are the comments I've gotten from people that have said they've followed me for years and I've always thought you were a very beautiful, polished person. So when you said you were going on this glow up journey, I thought, that's kind of weird because are you now going to be chopping and screwing your face? Like, are you like
I'm not gonna
prepping
lie.
us for like surgery?
The first time I saw the content that you were putting out, in my mind, I was like, well, the first time I met you, it was at like a brunch.
Yeah.
The one in like Las Colinas. And it was like an influencer brunch. And I remember thinking, with that same word, regal.
Yeah.
Like the way you carry yourself, you command attention without doing a lot. You already seemed refined, if that makes sense. And so as you're walking in this like evolution era, I think it's beautiful to see the transformation, or even just how you are revamping yourself, like internally in your mind, when other people are giving you your flowers or giving you credit before, where it's like, okay, well, she was already here, so what more next?
Yeah,
you know
what
what
is
I
she
mean?
prepping us for? Because sometimes people are prepping you for something that's going to be really drastic, but really sometimes it's subtle changes, like changing how I wear my hair, maybe stop wearing certain hairstyles, or just maybe changing the color of my hair,
Yeah.
I've been taking my clothes to get tailored, different things like that. Just like subtle changes that can go really far. And those are the comments I've been getting.
Yeah.
That, wow, like these subtle changes that you've made have really made a difference that we've noticed. And that's so cool. Like this is kind of what we're missing from our niche. Because a lot of times people will say, I want to change myself. And they come back with veneers, a BBL.
And it's drastic,
it's like
overnight
drastic. And a
changes.
buccal fat removal. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, what about things that are actually more relatable, like things that I can actually do, like the
And a
person
little
that's
bit
sitting
more
at home.
attainable for the everyday
Attainable.
person.
Like, how can I update my look without having to go be under the knife? And it's like, okay, maybe I can just change how I wear my clothes, get my dresses taken in. Maybe change my hairstyle. Like I've been wearing this hairstyle and it's cool, but like maybe it's not the most flattering hairstyle. So little things like that.
And just know your hair is giving.
Thank you. It is.
We love to see it.
She did that.
She did that one.
She did that.
Her biggest one.
She did. It's one of her biggest ones.
She
One of
said
her biggest ones.
We like that.
Definitely. She's just done such a phenomenal job on so many people I've seen. So I'm glad to be in the Hall of Fame.
We love that. And if you don't know, now you know. If you're tuning in, I want you guys to just like pause the podcast and go to the YouTube podcast so that you can see the hair. And then ask yourself why you don't have a Rose Style Studio wig on. But I digress. Let's get into the next topic, which is travels. I know we touched on it a little bit. We talked about Thailand. We talked about, how on your recent trip you went and you got this cherry scent. How do you balance the travel bug and when it gets you?
Yeah.
And how would you, I guess, advise others that are into traveling? I'm someone that I enjoy traveling, but how would you advise someone that's into traveling so that they can kind of figure out for themselves what makes the most sense and what trips should I be going on versus the ones that I can say like, we've probably done Mexico 5 times.
So I always say that at the end of the day, you should cut your coat according to the cloth, right? So like if you can afford, the US is such a big place. You can travel to a different state every month and still not hit all 50 states for a few years. So Maine is beautiful. I've been to Maine. Take a weekend and go to Florida. Take a week and go to the Carolinas. Go to Pottery Island. That's Florida. Go down to maybe a vineyard in California. Go skiing in Utah. Like go up to Seattle. They have a great food scene. There's New Orleans. Like there's Chicago. I mean, there's so many places to visit. In Texas even. Like just in Texas. So don't ever feel like, well, like I have to leave the country. Like explore the country that you live in. Like there's a lot of different culture in our country. Go horseback riding in Wyoming, you know. Even a cat. I was just telling my friend, I've never taken a cabin trip. Like I'd love to do like a ski cabin
The
trip.
cabin trips,
And just
like
go
in
to Utah,
Oklahoma,
yeah.
and even Oklahoma.
I mean,
Pause.
Oklahoma has a beautiful
They
place,
do
cabin area.
and they have the like getaway ones
Yeah.
where you can just kind of go like you and one other person.
Yeah, and they're so nice. And people actually travel into Oklahoma to go there. So
Yep.
it's like, it doesn't always have to be this lavish overseas event. But I will say that, you know, once I left Oklahoma, I often travel with my friends because Oklahoma, you got to connect the flights. So there's not a lot of direct flights from Oklahoma. So it's always great to travel with friends. I did a lot of girls trips, but when I moved to Dallas, I was like, oh, I'm actually on a different schedule. My friends mostly live out of state. And I also have a little
Funmi
bit
said
more
she on a different type of
flexibility.
time.
You know, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Wait till you have paid PTO?
Yeah.
You know?
No.
I can't do that because otherwise I'm going to always be waiting. So I took my first solo trip to London because I felt like, okay, it's an English-speaking country, you know. I'm not going to go there and be apologizing for my accent. So I went to London. It's very easy to get around.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, this isn't bad. There's Uber here. I can use my Visa. Like,
Yeah.
credit cards works, you know.
And
Hotel,
London
very nice.
is their trains
Yeah.
and stuff. Their transportation clean.
Clean.
Everything is London's actually very efficient. They just have. I think we are spoiled with like 10-lane highways.
Yeah.
And they have like one
more-
road
it's a little
there
smaller.
and one road
Yeah.
to get back. So it may take a little longer to transport from
Yeah.
here and there, but
But it was
you
less
can go there
scary
by
as
yourself.
like an overseas country.
Yeah.
Going somewhere where I'm like, okay, these people like speak English. You know, like it would have been really hard for my first trip to be like maybe an Arabic speaking country.
Come on.
Because you go there and the signs are in Arabic. You know, people are speaking a different. That can be a huge culture shock. So I always advise people like if you're taking your very first trip by yourself, dip your toes in to something that's a little familiar and then branch out from there. And from there, it's been 2 years. I travel everywhere by myself now. Like when my friends are like,
Where was the last place you went by yourself?
so the last solo trip was Switzerland. I went to Zurich.
I saw your content.
I was giving, you know, ski bunny.
No, we loved that.
My cousin texted me and was like, is it actually cold? I'm like, it's cold enough for a jacket, but the fur, it was doing a little bit much. But I had to stick to
the
it.
thing is,
I had to see it through.
Stick to the script.
I had to see it through.
And
I
the
had to do it for
script is
gram.
that you're a fine babe,
Yeah.
a posh babe. So
I had
you
to-
gonna do
I had
your
to see
biggest.
it through. I brought the outfit. I gotta, you know, but
We're gonna wear it.
Italy, you know, I went to Italy by myself. I met up with some friends. It was a conference, so
Oh, I love that.
it was a solo trip technically,
What
but
conference was this for?
it was it's a conference called Exons, and it is a perfume conference. It's a huge
Wait, hold on,
expo.
not exhaust, sounding like.
Exons.
Come on.
It's the biggest perfume expo in the world. It's like over 200 perfume brands and beauty brands are
Wow.
represented. It's like a week long. It's like 4 or 5 days. So it was really cool to also
That is
meet
so
other
cool.
content creators
Yeah.
and other peers and other fragrance creators and fragrance brand owners.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very inspired leaving that there's still space for me
Yeah.
in this niche and that all of these brands are not looking at each other and thinking,
How do we compete? It's
How can I
even-
compete? Like, how can I do better than them? Like,
Yeah.
they're just doing them. And I love that. I loved it.
I love that. I know earlier we were talking about a certain fragrance and how there's a lot of other fragrances that draw inspiration from that one fragrance. And sometimes it's even like, well, if you want to cut cost, here's not necessarily a dupe, but a fragrance that's inspired by it. Meaning, if you like this one, that maybe a higher ticket price and maybe a little bit more in the eyes of others, you smell it frequent, then you may like this one as well.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about dupes in your eyes or like inspired perfumes.
A lot of times in the fragrance industry, fragrances are created by the same perfumers. So like a perfume that was created by one brand could also, like that same guy that created it can go create perfume for another brand. So sometimes like when I say that fragrances are similar, it's because like they share a DNA. So they're not like twins or sisters. They might be cousins or second cousins.
Yeah.
But they have a very familiar vibe. And so sometimes like a $500 fragrance, you know, you can get a $300 fragrance that's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Because it was created by the same person. And then when you want to go even further down, you know, there are the affordable dupes that you can get for $40, you know.
Yeah.
Different things, though, inspire people to spend money. At the end of the day, like, for example, a car will get you from point A to point B, but the person that's buying the Hyundai is not the same person that's buying a Porsche,
Come
you know?
on.
So it's because, like, you value different things in your driving experience, right? And some people value different things in their fragrance experience. Some people love packaging. I saw a brand called Salas. Right?
Okay.
It's a Middle Eastern brand. They're based in Dubai, I believe. And they have just the most stunning bottles. They look like works of art. And the perfume bottles are expensive though. They're like $400 or $500.
Yeah.
But the bottles are absolutely stunning. And I thought to myself, as someone who collects fragrances, like I would want to have this in my collection.
Yeah.
Just like men that collect expensive watches. You know, you're not going out and collecting Casio. You're going out and collecting your Rolex, your Patek Philippe, Philippe, whatever. Like you're collecting Audemars, expensive watches, expensive perfumes. Like the thing that you collect sometimes you place value in different components of
Yeah.
what makes that thing interesting to you. So I always say your fragrance journey should be reflective of your budget. Like some people prefer to buy one bottle a year. That's
Yeah.
$400.
And then like build
And then
over
that's
time.
it. Like they build. They buy maybe one really really special bottle like for Mother's Day and birthday. That's all.
Yeah.
And some people like to buy the $40 bottles and be able to get a new bottle every 2 weeks. Like it's okay. Both are okay. Both are okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't. One person is not more of a collector because they spend more money on the perfume.
I like the way you put that. I feel like there was definitely a pivot and a transition in my life where I was like, okay, I got my first like perfume. And I was like, wow, this is like my go-to. I'm wearing it all the time. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to invest in buying maybe 5 all at once.
Okay.
So then I got like 5 all at once. And I was like, okay, now I can rotate them out. I can, try this one, try that one. And then from there, it was like, okay, now I can casually just start picking them up. Like now I can build and add this one and add this one until
Yeah.
it gets to the point where it's like, okay, now even sometimes you're getting gifted some.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, you didn't start there though. You didn't start here.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about like the partnerships and the brand deals that come in this world.
So one thing I always tell people is that when I say don't box yourself in, like understand that with fragrance, it's still a burgeoning market as far as like brand partnerships. So like, you see a lot of influencers that have these massive collections, but it's a very small percentage of brands that actually do paid campaigns. So like I remember I was in a fragrance group and some of the girls were like, oh yeah, this person was doing an ad for Prada Beauty. Like, oh, but I only wear $500 perfume. Okay, keep wearing the $500 perfume because that person got paid $10,000 to do that.
Come on.
Like, you're not better because that's the kind of perfume you wear. And like everyone's budget is different. Some people want to say I can go into Sephora and get this. Like I'm from Oklahoma, we don't
True.
have Neiman Marcus, so unless I can go smell it at Dillard's or at Ulta, like I don't know
Macy's.
what these smell
Yeah.
like. Like, and I want to go smell something, put it on my skin first. So don't look down on those people. Like that's very snooty. And snooty behavior is not cute. But also, it's like this idea of how you make yourself interesting enough to the brands to see how adding you to their payroll is beneficial to them. Are you a very, very good storyteller? Are you an amazing videographer? Do you just take stunning cinematography? Like, what is it that draws people to your page?
Yeah.
And that is usually how you can stand out to gain these type of partnerships with brands. Because they're always looking for something different. Sometimes they're looking for people that can drive sales. Sometimes they're looking for people that just simply can bring awareness to
Yep.
the audience. Like, oh, this brand is coming out with this. And that's enough. So I think the best way to start is just to start. Don't feel like you have to be this most eloquent person. I don't consider myself to be the most eloquent person. I have friends that I've met that are just, everything they say sounds like poetry. And I feel so clumsy next to them when I talk. But, it's okay. Like, it's okay that I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Because you bring something unique to your own page and they do as well.
What was the video that got you on Sephora Squad?
So to answer your first question, it goes back to this idea of living unapologetically. Like you have to just be okay saying, I'm gonna say this.
Yep.
And honestly finding your own voice. And that's why as a therapist, I always encourage people, being empowered also means finding your own voice. So I'd mentioned how like sometimes when I go into creating fragrance content, I compare myself to other people who are more eloquent than myself that can say all the pronunciations correct. And I feel so clumsy. But then like it's a random video that I'll think about that's a parody of something that will end up being the video that stands out when it comes to the brand deal. So when I applied for Sephora Squad like 2 years ago, I think it's been 2 years now, there was a video I'd done called Savage Thelioma that was an inspired video by the mesothelioma commercials where I dressed up as a lawyer and said like, if you've been affected by someone, any man that has Savage Thelioma, like you might qualify for compensation. It was just a very tongue-in-cheek video. Like I didn't take it seriously when I posted it,
And it's always the videos that you don't take serious.
and it didn't go viral. I want to actually add that that video did not go viral. Like it performed very average. However, it reached the right, pardon me, it reached the right audience. Like it was around the time I applied for Sephora Squad, and it was a video they said that the whole team cracked up at. In fact, like it's been shared with Dior, and they all thought it was so funny. Like to the point where now I get messages from people from Sephora that are like, every time I see Dior at the store, I think about you. And I'm just like, oh, well, I'm glad that you laugh. Like, I'm glad you had a chuckle. And sometimes you have to leave people with something, whether it's information on how they can purchase a new fragrance, how to decide on a new fragrance, what these fragrances mean. But sometimes you leave people with a chuckle. So
I love that. I love the uniqueness of that story. I love the uniqueness of it all and how it unraveled, because you couldn't have predicted that it was going to turn into what it did. No. And I think sometimes people are focused on the numbers, and they're not focused on like, it's almost like they're focused on quantity versus quality. If you touched and reach the right people, the decision makers that are now going to propel you, get you into Sephora Squad and say like, hey, Funmi, we want to bring you in. We want to now push your brand. You reach the right people. Like that's
have
really
a million people that watch your video, 10 million people, and get no opportunities from it. But that video, like I said, it performed so low. I was even surprised. I was like, this is a video that should be trending. Like if it was anybody else that posted it, they'd be trending. However, I accepted that, like, despite it not trending,
quality.
The right eye saw it. The eyes that mattered, and my life has changed significantly. So don't focus on the numbers. Just understand that the good content will be seen by the right people.
We love that. So with all of that, your life changing, how would you describe your strategic vision for 2024?
2024 has been about refining my skills and also leaning into creativity. Like, I think it's so easy to get into what I call fast fashion content. So it's like fast fashion, right? Like you have brands like Shein, Pretty Little Things, Fashion Nova that are constantly churning out new styles every single day. You know, we talk about how it's so wasteful, but at the end of the day, it's affordable fashion for people. But then, like, it's easy to get into what I call fast fashion, content as a creator, like where you're just churning out stuff that's not very good, but you're just wanting to put out 10 videos a day. And I told myself, I really want to be more creative, but I also want to be more strategic with the type of content I'm putting out. Like, am I hitting beauty? Am I hitting fashion? Am I hitting skincare? And am I also hitting fragrance? And is the stuff I'm putting out stuff I'm proud of? And so you will really struggle at first because sometimes the numbers do not reflect the quality of your work. I can personally tell you that some of the best work I've put out recently, the views have been
talk about
bad.
it.
I'm just like, kilo day, like what is wrong? Like, why is anybody, like nobody's seeing this? Like, and I feel like this is a video that should be getting numbers. But I'm building a resume. I'm building a thing for when I reach out to Bobbi Brown, when I reach out to MAC Cosmetics, when I reach out to SkinCeuticals, or when I reach out to Sephora or Ulta or whoever, hey, I'd like to work with you. You have 15 seconds. Like,
for them
you have literally 10 seconds for someone to go through your page because 15,000 other people have messaged them. You have 10 seconds to make an impression. And what does that impression look at in that 10 seconds?
And they want to know, how can we seamlessly fit inside your brand in that 15 seconds?
They're looking at, is the quality there? Like, oh, this blew me away. They didn't care that I only have 4 comments, They just saw, this is a beautifully done video. She definitely would make sense for this campaign we're working on. So you have 10 seconds. You have to make that 10 seconds count.
Oh, I love that.
And sometimes that 10 seconds that you get, just because it's like, that's all you get sometimes. That 10 seconds could turn into something longer because now they're intrigued. That Dior Sauvage video intrigued a lot of people, So they went through the rest of my videos and continue to chuckle. I appreciate that. But you have 10 seconds. Make the 10 seconds count.
Make it count. Like legit make it count. So now this is the portion of the podcast where we spin everything on to you all, and I turn all of my guests into main characters because I feel like you guys are main characters in your own story.
Cute.
So this is the time frame for you to now be the host,
Okay.
and for you to ask me a question
Perfect. Okay.
of choice.
Okay.
What question do you have for me?
So I always want to know, for someone who is a Black professional, right? You have a professional job, but you're also a creative. What have you found motivates you the most regarding how you show up in your content? Are you showing up as Elizabeth the boss, or are you showing up as Elizabeth the lifestyle girly?
I love that you asked this question. A few of my friends can attest that I've always used the play on words of like a Hannah Montana versus Miley Cyrus, because it sometimes feels like Elizabeth versus Lizzy. And it's like Lizzy is the fifth out of six kids in a Nigerian household that has a very big personality that would always kind of like perform for her family, and has now been kind of molded into the ebbs and flows of like this professional being. And so sometimes it's like this merge of the two, and then it's like this battle of like, am I Lizzy? Am I Elizabeth? Like, am I still going out and like doing what Lizzy likes to do? Like, if I'm taking a trip, if I'm going out to the club, and am I the person in the club with the shades on?
Yeah,
but
bro.
am I also, you know what I mean? Duh. But am I also the person that is like this corporate professional, you know, blazered up and like, hello, how are you all? Seeing clients, flying, all of that. And I think overall, I would say that I'm both.
Okay.
But I enjoy showing up as Lizzy.
Okay.
I think I have really enjoyed diving like deeper into like the creative side of me. I definitely love the polished version of myself, and I know when to kind of what we would consider in like corporate politics is like code switching. I know when to code switch.
Yeah.
I know when I can code switch into more of the refined version of me. I know when to code switch into like even just the Niger Babe will come out. Okay. And then I know when to code switch and it's just like, this is just me being me, like wig off, chilling kind of energy. And I think when it comes to online, I try to find ways to show up as either or, because my audience is building on all levels. Okay. So there's an audience that is coming from LinkedIn. There's an audience that comes from TikTok that goes to LinkedIn. Yeah. There's an audience that comes from Instagram and YouTube, and then they want to now ask about the LinkedIn or whatever the ebbs and flows. But it's like, at the end of the day, so that you don't have to live in this dichotomy, just show up as yourself is the best advice that I've been telling myself, so that I can just show up and be the creative, like, I'm just owning it. Yes, I'm Elizabeth, but I'm also Lizzy kind of person.
Okay, so, that's beautiful. I love that. I love it. I love it. And you know what? I really like the Lizzy, because I think that's the part I'm most familiar with as someone who follows your content. It's interesting because I find your Lizzy content to be very polished and very refined. You know, it's not given sloppy, so it's definitely given refined. But, you know, tying back into beauty as well, because obviously you're a very beautiful lady.
Yeah.
And as a beauty content creator myself, I think about rituals a lot, you know, and how, you know, you show up for yourself through your rituals. So you do your skincare routine every day. That's your ritual. And, you know, when I talk about mental health with people, I talk about how a lot of times the very first signs that something is not right is when you fall out of your rituals. Like now, I didn't feel like washing my face today.
Hey, now you see,
I didn't feel like, you know, putting on, you know, I usually get dressed up for work. I just felt like putting on sweatpants today. Then it becomes, I didn't even want to put on clean clothes. You know, like the rituals that you're used to, I don't go to the gym anymore. They fall off, right? So I think about how important ritual is in our daily life, which is why I love fragrance. Some days I don't do makeup, but I'll put on a fragrance I really like.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of your ritual? Whether it's you go to the gym, Pilates, I mean, maybe it's making tea in the morning.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of your daily ritual?
Great question. There's many parts. But the one that keeps me centered for sure is like starting my day with God.
I love that.
Like I start every morning with like praise and worship. I'll journal. I'll go through my devotional. I'll go through like a sermon. And I think that has been something that has not been like a new facade for me. It's something that I grew up with. My parents were really big in like, you know, memorize Psalms. Yes. And so like I can recite the Psalms, certain ones. But it kind of became something that like, even in high school, that's when I started journaling. So now something that I always tell myself is like, one day you're going to write a book. And
We're waiting.
in that book, you don't have to go back to start trying to recall, like, oh, what was I thinking at this point of life? I literally have journals from high school, from college, from younger 20s to mid to now, getting towards the later end of 20s, where I can go back and flip and see, like, okay, at the end of the day, the thing that was like the point of truth in that ritual that you're mentioning was that God was like the center. And I kept kind of tying everything back to him in like my conversation. So whether it be like, good morning, beautiful, today we talked to God and da da da, and like we noticed da 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 da. And I'll just kind of give a dialogue to myself. So one day maybe we'll share that.
Okay, I think it's beautiful. Okay, now, because I'm a beauty girly, what is your favorite part of your beauty routine as well?
Favorite part of the beauty routine. Ooh, as much as I would like to say doing my makeup, I don't think I actually enjoy the process as much. I think what I enjoy about the process is the transformation. I think seeing that, like, whoa, you're getting good at this. You know what I mean? Like those moments of like, okay, sometimes you're gonna go book an appointment and get your makeup done. But as I'm the type of person, if I'm sitting in somebody's chair, oh, I'm asking questions. Why do you use this product?
Yeah.
So why'd you put this on my face?
Yeah.
So what would you recommend that I? So why'd you put that bottom color?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna bring out my eyes. Okay, bet. So I'm gonna learn while I'm in the chair so that I can take it. But also in the process of doing my makeup in the beauty journey, that's my time to like phone a friend. I'll be on FaceTime and they're pretty much getting like their get ready with me. And that's when I can like catch up with a friend because I'm like, okay, I got like 30 minutes. So,
I love that. I do the same thing. I'll put on an ebook, maybe a YouTube video, chat with my friends. But it's a really fun part of the process because I feel like I am polishing myself to enter the world. I'm like putting on my adornments, so to speak. But it's always interesting how it's so different for everybody. Some people it's skincare, they love their skincare routine. Some people I love my fragrance routine because I'm like, okay, I need to pick out my perfume, then what body oil am I going to use, then what hair mist am I going to use, and then what am I going to spray on my ankles? It's the third day. Like, you just never know.
that ankle.
You never know.
Wait, ankles on the third day. I just want you guys to use imagination.
I'm 33, okay?
I'm crying.
I've had a lot of
I love it.
We're all grown here, so
No, we are.
Sometimes ankles on the third day, sometimes
It's
you
necessary.
just something holding hands. You never know. But I say all this to say, like, ritual is something that's really important to me, and I definitely understand how a shift in your ritual can show you that something isn't right in your life.
Yeah.
Like, the day you wake up and you don't feel
Getting
like
back
prayer
today.
or you don't feel like journaling, like, okay, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
what has happened that is knocking me out of my ritual?
Those were great questions. I love that. Thank you.
So excited to be here.
Now to kind of spin it back to you, we have this portion of the podcast called Pass the Mic.
Okay.
And so the last guest, sight unseen, they had asked you a question.
Oh.
And then, of course, you get to ask the next guest.
Okay.
So the question that they had for you is, where do you see yourself, Funmi, in 10 years?
10 years. I'm not going to lie, as a Virgo, I've thought about this. I am 33, so in 10 years, I'll be 43 years old. And I would like to say that I'm running a very successful business. I don't want to say what type of business because I don't want to jinx myself. But I am intentionally working towards that dream. And I think that based on my journey in life so far, it feels like a thing that I'm meant to be doing. So there's that. I would like to say I'm still happy. I'm very happy today. So I would like to think that in 10 years, I'm still so happy. Maybe 10 more years happier, 10 times happier, I am surrounded by people I love and that love me. I feel loved and I am loving. And it's interesting because if you asked me 10 years ago, at 23, I would have said, by 33, I'll be a housewife. I'll be married and have kids. And I think about how 10 years ago, what my life looks like now looks so different than what I would have ever imagined. But it doesn't look worse. Like, I would never trade the things that I have now for the things I would have thought I wanted 10 years ago. Like, I'm not married and I don't have kids, but I have all these other amazing things and experiences. And I'm still healthy. And those are things I don't take for granted anymore, especially after my friend passed away. Like, being here and being able to sit here today is it's just something that you don't take for granted. Your life is not promised to anybody, so that's why I say you live every day and make it the best day. And your best is going to look different. Sometimes your best is just like yesterday. I literally, if I showed you the picture of how I looked yesterday, I was wearing baggy sweatpants and a ski hat. Like, but I wasn't
Wait,
feeling
you were
well.
on your Pusheisty?
Yeah,
Ski
literally.
mask?
I was like, in fact, I even had to I had to run to Walgreens to get some cold medication. I had to even change my hat because I was wearing a ski hat. And I said, let me at least put on my baseball hat. These people might call the police on me. So I said, it's too much urban.
Yeah, a little too urban.
A little too urban. I need to put on a Texas Rangers hat or something, But, that was my best because I wasn't feeling well. I did not compare my best from yesterday to my best the day before or my best Monday. So I always say, operate at your best. Understand that your best is going to change every day and just be okay with that. You survived. You woke up the next day, your eyes opened, and you lived to tell the tale. So at 43, I would love to be married and I would love to have a bambino or two. But I also know that in 10 years, if that is not what my life looks like, I know that because I'm walking in the purpose that God has divine for me. He's written for me that whatever I'm doing at 43, I will be so happy doing it. I might be a foster mother, maybe that is what I'm meant to do. I might be running a business. I might be back to being a therapist, and just only doing therapy. But I know that whatever I'm doing, as long as I'm walking in God's divine purpose for my life, I will be absolutely happy doing it.
In honor of passing the mic, what question do you have for the next guest?
Okay, so I'm speaking into my mic. I would say, what is one way that you show up for yourself daily? I mean, a lot of people, they find out that they don't. So maybe now this will help you to actually start doing it.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting
How
me.
can the people keep up with you? Because, girl, we trying to keep up with you. We want to
Listen,
see
I make it
how
easy.
everything unfolds in 10 years, in 2 years, in 1 month. How can the people keep up with you?
I make it really easy because my name is the same on all my socials.
We love that.
Funmi Monet on all my socials. So if you're looking for me anywhere, if you see a Funmi Monet, it is me. Even when I get married, it's still gonna be Funmi Monet, but there'll be a Mrs. in front. So Mrs. Funmi Monet, Miss Funmi Monet, I'm still Funmi Monet. I have my own fragrance. It's available at exalteparfum.com. So if you are looking for Exalte and you just put it in Google, it's the only Exalte. Was very intentional about making sure there were no other Exalte parfums that existed.
And it smells phenomenal.
It's beautiful. And you know what? I actually wanted to give this bottle to you.
Wait,
this
stop!
is a gift. As a thank you for
Stop!
having me here. I wanted
Oh my
to
gosh!
give you a little token of my appreciation for your time and for sharing your platform with me.
You're gonna make me cry.
I know you like to smell good. I know you like to look good, so I'm like,
No, the thing is,
well dressed, well traveled, well mannered, well scented. It all
if
comes
you
together.
guys saw, and I'm sure y'all saw the way I sprayed this, I said, wow, I need to, where can I buy this? Wow,
It's
thank
giving
you.
fine babe. It's giving fine babe.
No,
Thank you.
It's giving fine babe. It's giving exalte.
It's giving exalté. And you know what's crazy? I don't speak French. People are like, wow, French name? The perfumer was like, what? Her name is Monet too. Like, surely. And I hop on the phone, bonjour, y'all. And he's like,
no, bonjour.
He's like, there's no hard R at the end. Sorry, I'm from Texas. But you can find me on all my platforms as Funmi Monet. And once again, I am so excited to just be able to chat with you.
Yes.
I love what you're doing. I love the empowered era. As a therapist, I always want people to feel empowered when they walk through my doors or when they leave my social media pages, just to know that anything that you want to do is at your fingertips. And if you're dreaming, just keep dreaming bigger. It's actually not big enough.
It's actually not big enough.
Not big
and
enough.
on that note, we gonna wrap it. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Love y'all.
Love you guys.